friends from UWO Theater here to tell us all about their latest production, and we're really excited to hear about it. So I'd like to introduce Jane Purse-Wiedenhoft here to tell us all about the latest production. So Jane, first of all, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome.
So tell us, what is the latest show that you guys are preparing for?
Well, it's called Clybourne Park, and I am the director. It is about a family who lives in a house in 1959. Actually, let me back up a little bit.
Sure.
The playwright, Bruce Norris, is actually someone who was inspired by the play and the movie of A Raisin in the Sun by Lorraine Hansberry.
Yes.
And he took some of the ideas from that play and wrote a new play. And in Clybourne Park, we are in the house that the African-American family is buying in a white neighborhood in the A Raisin in the Sun story.
Okay.
And so we see the white family in that house who is moving out, and how the neighbors are all reacting to a black family moving in.
Wow.
And it's 1959, so there are all sorts of things about race relations, about gentrification, where neighborhoods change ethnicity, and so it's sort of interesting because of the time period, because of the 1959 time period.
Mm-hmm.
Act 2 is 50 years later. Act 2 is 2009. We have an African-American president. Things have changed. Hopefully things are better. Maybe people get along better. And what has happened now is the neighborhood over all these years is now more of an African-American neighborhood, and now there's a white family that's buying the house,
Okay.
this same house, and moving into this neighborhood. So you look at some of the same issues in two very different time periods.
Wow.
And the same actors play roles in both acts. So they're not playing the same characters, 50 years difference, but they're playing a character that somehow is related to or has a connection to the character they played in Act 1.
Wow. And that's a challenge
And
as
it's
an actor.
it's a huge challenge, yes.
Yeah.
But a fun challenge.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, it sounds like such an interesting play to kind of see how the roles have been reversed a little bit, and see the difference between those two time periods, even though it doesn't seem like it's that far apart time-wise, but how much things change.
Yeah.
And a very interesting relation to The Raisin in the Sun as well. Very cool. So what relevance does this have for today's audiences?
Well, the way we're approaching it is that idea that our past is always present, and we can't just walk away from it.
Mm-hmm.
It's still there, whether it be your history, your culture, your gender. This production pushes all the buttons. And I should say before I forget that there is very mature language, there is some swearing, some adult issues, so I would say high school or older is probably the best as far as age group.
Good to know.
But all of the times that is being used in the play, it's for a reason, or you see why the person has been moved to that, or they're telling a very off-color joke, and that's the idea, that people are being offended by the joke in the play, or
it's meant to create
they're having
that discomfort
right,
there.
or people are like, well, that shouldn't offend you, but then someone else says, but that offends me, and so it's that thing of, well, there still are so many things that you have to be aware of, political correctness, but it's a comedy. I would call it a tragic comedy because there are many very serious moments in the play, and again, very serious issues. But it's still meant to be a comedy. And I even say in my director notes in the program that when I actually saw this on Broadway in 2012 when it won the Tony Award, and I was sitting in the audience and I was laughing hysterically, and then I would stop and I would sort of swallow and think, oh my goodness, that's terrible that I just laughed at that joke. I shouldn't have laughed at that joke. That's terrible.
Right.
But it's that sort of thing. Or the characters in the play make fun of their own race or their own identity. But it's just like every time you turn around, you find another button being pushed. So it's fun, but it's serious. It will bring a lot of discussion. I think people leaving the show will want to talk about a lot of things.
Well, I can imagine. I already want to talk about a lot of things. I haven't even seen the show yet. So it sounds very deep, but at the same time light and easy to
still
enjoy.
a great night of theater,
Right.
enjoyable.
Right. And you'll be having post-show conversation, speaking of that.
Yes.
So what exactly
on two
is
nights. On our Friday and Saturday night performances, we will have that. Basically, we have a guest faculty member each night on Friday and Saturday who will sort of just lead a talk about an issue that's in the play, and sort of start that as a dialogue situation and talk with the audience. We used to call them talkbacks, but we realized some people thought of that as, well, why are you talking back at us? And so we've called it now a conversation, because it is something we just want to engage with the audience and talk about, what did they see, what questions do they have about the play.
Which has got to be interesting for both sides of the conversation. For an audience member, it's really interesting while that's all fresh in your mind and it's so organic coming out of, trying to work through these different things. And then as an actor and the director, it's really interesting to hear that feedback as well.
It is. Oh, yeah. It's always great to have that exchange with audience members. Sure.
Wow. Well, what a cool play. I'm so excited to see it. Can you elaborate a little bit for potential audience members? Again, you mentioned the language and things like that. It's not something that you need to be afraid of for the program and the show, just maybe not under high school age.
Right. It's. I mean, again, if someone is extremely upset by swearing or something, that it's just something they're very, very against, then they probably shouldn't come see the show. But it is a lot of the language is it's either at a moment where it's an off-color joke being told, and the actors in the show, the characters actually sort of have a moment of, did you really just say that?
It's real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they laugh or don't laugh, or they'll say, that's not even funny. Why did you tell that? Or the person you think might be offended by it. Say, for example, it's a joke that's maybe about African Americans, and then the African American couple, they're not offended by it, but then there's another element of the joke that makes the women in the room offended by it.
Oh my gosh. That's a lot. When and where can we see the show this year?
Well, it is in our Frederick March Theater on the UWO Oshkosh campus. And we are performing Thursday through Saturday, February 18th through the 20th at 7:30 p.m. and Sunday the 21st at 2 p.m.
Okay, and we can get tickets online or at the box office?
Yes, you can. Okay. We have box office at uwosh.edu is the online way, and phone number is 920-424-4417.
Yes, and we can find all that information online at the UWO Oshkosh Theater website.
Correct.
And then I think you do have a Facebook page as well, because you do have some awesome updates and pictures of rehearsals and things like that going on.
We
so
do.
You can check all that out on Facebook. So it sounds like such an amazing show, Jane. We're all looking forward to it, and what a challenge for those actors in college. Very cool.
It is. They're enjoying it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, thank you so much for coming in today and telling us all about it. We hope to have you in again soon for your next show.
Great. I look forward to it.
Oshkosh Today was supported in part by the Friends of OCM. And Aurora Healthcare, 855 Northwest Haven Drive. Set design provided by House of Flowers, 1920 Algoma Boulevard. Oshkosh Today.